According to Andrew Nikifor from the Energy Matrix, electric vehicles would not only lower carbon emissions, but make our cities quieter and cleaner places. But hardcore science has always had some trouble with this pleasant illusion given all materials and energy needed to make an electric vehicle in the first place. Good morning, my name is Hannah McGallum. As greenhouse gas emissions, climate change, and global warming are gaining attention worldwide, countries are working to plummet the use of fossil fuels. The transportation sector, which is a large portion of total energy consumption, is contributing to climate issues, especially according to the College Board stimulus due to environmental factors like higher temperatures, pollution, and habitat fragmentation due to buildings and roads. These environmental factors described by the College Board stimulus are the main contributors to the climate change issues that are gaining awareness. These effects have called for change in the transportation sector. This has led to the popularization of EVs, or electric vehicles that are powered by electricity rather than gasoline. In fact, there has been rapid growth in the electric vehicle market worldwide. Electric vehicles have become a prominent competitor against the traditional gas-powered vehicle. This leaves the question, should the United States focus on the implementation of electric vehicles or the maintenance of gas-powered vehicles within the next decade? Ultimately, with extensive research, the United States should focus on the maintenance of gas-powered vehicles within the next decade. To begin with, the implications of adopting electric and gas-powered vehicles must be considered. Moore Norstein and fellow researchers from the Institute of Research and Technology explains the implications of electric vehicles using up large amounts of energy by concluding that voltage instability represents a challenging issue and can lead to system disruptions. In addition, the EVs consume more amount of power in a short amount of time to fuel the battery. Furthermore, single-phase EV chargers may increase phase imbalance at distribution network. In other words, electric vehicles require enormous amounts of energy. To put this into perspective, the average daily use of an electric vehicle requires the same amount of energy as the average American household. With an electric vehicle mandate in the United States, within the next decade, the amount of energy consumed by electric vehicles would rise exponentially. State grid blocks cannot handle this with the current infrastructure and the sharp increase in electricity which drain power grids. Although the technical aspects of the implementation of electric vehicles are crucial, so are the opinions of the American consumer. To cover the viewpoints of Americans, Hussein Abu-Mahdazi and his associate researcher revealed that there are several major implications that hinder the widespread adoption of EV. There are relatively higher prices, the limited driving range of EVs, and the lack of fast charging stations. The price of an EV is usually higher than that of an FV, even with tax credits and subsidies, and people will not purchase EVs if there is not enough charging infrastructure, and fast charging networks can only make profit if there is enough demand. To reiterate, transforming the country's transportation sector is a far from simple task. With many individuals already unwilling to give up their gas-powered vehicles for electric ones, it is far too difficult to erase this vast gas-powered vehicle industry within the next decade. Next, charging times are major concerns for Americans as electric vehicles take longer to fuel and they have a much more limited driving range in comparison to gas-powered vehicles, which can take just a few minutes to fuel. Moving on, the implementation of electric vehicles into American society within the next decade is extremely problematic and complex due to foreign affairs. Many natural resources like lithium, which are required to produce and run electric vehicles, come from foreign countries. Lithium is an element that is crucial for rechargeable lithium-ion batteries. Lithium is a scarce resource with various complications as it is expensive, dangerous, and strenuous to dispose of. On the point of scarcity, the Journal of Chemicals and Chemistry explains that the attraction for investors this time around is Argentina's lithium. There's a looming shortage of this rare metal, a key raw material in the batteries used in electric vehicles. US and Chinese companies are engaged in bidding wars for Argentina's lithium. It is clear that Argentina is a vital mining site that is a major contributor to the lithium market. This means that countries like the US and China are quickly taking over an advantage of countries. This is the root of the exploitation of countries and their people. Even worse, mining and refining lithium is exceptionally dangerous due to lithium's toxic properties. James Agresti describes these hazardous implications on foreign countries by explaining that switching to electric cars transfers pollution from urbanities in wealthy nations to poor countries that mine and manufacture their components, and to communities with power plants and disposal sites. In simpler terms, mining and refining of minerals like lithium are detrimental to those countries that source them. These poor countries lack the proper infrastructure to limit the effects of pollutants from disposal sites and power plants. Foreign countries that do not have a strong global presence are suffering, and their countries are being torn apart due to electric vehicles. Most importantly, one of the main driving factors towards the implementation of electric and gas-powered vehicles is climate change and global warming. However, when leaders like Gavin Newsom, Governor of California, have plans to mandate zero-emissions electric vehicles in the next decade, there are a few false hopes. This is because across the United States, electric vehicles are more detrimental to the environment than petrol-powered vehicles thanks to the pollution created in generating electricity. This is extremely surprising as the main use for coal in the United States is to generate electricity. Coal steam gas is a natural gas that is mostly methane. Today, methane is responsible for a large chunk of global warming, and along with carbon dioxide, which is also released when producing electric vehicles. Next, these two graphs show the electric versus gas-powered vehicle damage. This bottom one shows the limited effects of the gasoline vehicle damage, which is shown by the predominantly green graph with limited spots of red and yellow, and this top graph is showing the much more significant damage from electric vehicles, which is shown by the large amounts of green, red, orange, and yellow. And this is due to the electricity generated that is needed for electric vehicles, which usually happens in the Midwest and parts of the North and South. In conclusion, there are two possible solutions. The first being the maintenance of gas-powered vehicles. However, there are a few limitations. First being government mandates. If there was a mandate, the people wouldn't have much choice of whether they wanted electric or gas-powered vehicles. The second is negative environmental implications, and gas-powered vehicles also do produce and contribute to climate change and global warming. And acceleration speeds, as the stop speed of electric vehicles are typically quicker than those of gas-powered vehicles. And the second option would be the implementation of electric vehicles, and the limitations are the lack of adoptability, which are the fast charging stations, and the higher price points. The second is foreign implications, and the third is the negative environmental implications. Looking at these limitations, it is clear to see that the United States should focus on the maintenance of gas-powered vehicles over the implementation of electric vehicles within the next decade. Electric vehicles are not the final solution. They are simply a cover-up to a much complex and bigger issue. Thank you. These are my items.
All right, two questions for you. First question, how valid and reliable were the sources that you used, and then how do you know?
All my sources were valid and reliable because they all came from academic peer-reviewed journals from search engines that are well credited like EBSCO and Gale.
Okay. And if you had more time, what additional research would you have conducted on this issue?
If I had more time, I would conduct research on diesel trucks and hybrid vehicles, because when I was researching, I noticed how the mandates, like for example, the one in my presentation from Governor Gavin Newsom were done, it was very black and white between either electric vehicles or gas-powered vehicles, and there was no in-between of hybrid vehicles and diesel vehicles, which is important because that's also a very big part of our economy. So I would research more about that to see how the government felt about those other vehicles.